Hello, this is your new QCopter, and just want to state up front that the purpose of this video is it's an instructional video. It's going to help people learn and become familiar with their new QCopter. It is not for the purpose of sales, but for the purpose of the benefit of customers that have purchased this product. To start off, here's the package that you'll be receiving in the box. First of all, we want to make sure that inside the box you're going to have a HD camera. And it has the camera inside, and this is very important. You're going to have your brackets, your prop guard back brackets underneath your drone. You want to make sure you take those off and install those. If you don't, you're going to have problems with your motors and with your gears, so it's imperative that you remove those. We're going to go ahead and go through all the pieces here, and then we'll quickly assemble the part, and then we'll conclude with a brief demonstration of the controller. So you go ahead and take the package off. It's got a nice little liner there. There's your new drone. There's your controller. You've got some instructions, but some have had a difficult time understanding those instructions clearly. That's why we're doing this instructional video for our customers. And then you have your landing gear. So we'll go ahead and start off by installing the camera. Why don't we do the camera first? Here's your package with your camera. It has the HD camera that takes photos and videos. It has your USB port drive that you plug into your computer and download the videos that you've taken, and then you have a nice little 2 gigabytes SD micro card. So for starters, you will need to install that, but we'll have that on the later part when we do the demonstration on the controller. But to plug in your camera, it's very simple. Many people have asked about this, but just plug in the little 3-prong thing. There's a couple little clips that you want to install, so you just slide them right into that little clip holder, and your drone should be, your camera should be set up. It's that simple. The other thing that you want to make sure is that when you get your drone, you want to plug in your battery. This one here is already plugged in, but when you get it in the mail, it won't be plugged in. So all you gotta do is make sure that you plug in your battery. That is a powerful battery. It's a 3.7 volts, 1100 milliamps per hour. It's probably going to get you twice as much time as your average battery on the market. I think most are saying they're getting 15 minutes of flight time opposed to 6 to 8 minutes. So that's a superior battery. So you want to make sure you plug that in. And then you want to plug in your landing gear. Your landing gear will protect your cameras and also protect your drone. And then we'll show you how to turn on the drone later. But one thing that's vitally important is, one, not only you locate these brackets, these prop motor brackets underneath your liner, but also the prop guards, you install them. And then there's some screws inside this package and a screwdriver that you screw in just the center screw. And that's important because some people have, like all drones, they'll crash land, and the prop guard will fall off and it either gets broken or misplaced. If you put that screw in there, it will keep it from popping off the drone.
Another thing is that we like to add is that these prop guards are very, very important that you add them, especially if you are a first-time or beginning flyer. They're almost essential, because even though this drone is a lot more hefty and sturdy build than many others, you still want to put your prop guards on to protect your investment here.
So there's your prop guards. Go ahead and put your screws on the center piece. They're in this extra bag that you have here. In this bag, you're going to have 2 extra blades in case you ever break one. It's highly unlikely if you have your prop guards on. And then we have the battery charger there. I've got one that's already assembled here. Here's a spare battery. Here's the adapter, or for the charger. It's got a USB on one side and it plugs right in. You plug it into a little cube that you buy at your local electronics store, at King Soopers, Walmart, wherever the case may be. You plug it right in, and then you plug it into the wall. And just a brief demonstration here is when you plug that in, the light here will go red on the charger, and that tells you that it's charging. When the light goes off, that tells you that the battery's charged. And you don't want to overcharge a lithium battery. You'll damage the battery. So make sure when the light goes off, you go ahead and unplug it. Also, we've had some limited situations where from the manufacturer, this charger is just the opposite, where the light will not be on until it is fully charged, and then the light goes on. So most likely the light's going to go on to charge it. If it doesn't, it does the opposite. Then at least you're aware of that.
And as soon as it's done charging, the light will either go off or on depending on which charger you got.
So let's get back to the drone over here. We've got the controller and we have the instructions that we mentioned earlier. We're now going to segue into a demonstration on the controller and how to fly the quadcopter. Thank you for your time. Let's now take a look at a close video demonstration of how to use your controller on your QCopter.
Alright, so first off, we have to turn it on. So it's underneath the aircraft. There's a little switch right by the camera. We flip it, it goes on. And first thing we'll do on here is that, see this light blinking green and red? The camera is missing the SD card, so we have to install it. By that, we just go in the back and put in our SD card. And when we get a solid light, it's been successfully installed. So next up, we have to bind the aircraft to the controller. So we turn on the power switch in the middle. We go up and down, and solid lights means that it's connected. And we could test that by giving it a little throttle, and we know it's live. So since we're talking about the camera here anyways, first up, there's a little computer SD card. Basically, the SD card goes in here, goes in your computer, and you can receive all your photos and videos from your computer. So, and how we use our camera real quick while we're at it is if there's a little switch left of the power switch, and when we push it upwards, it takes a photo, and when we push it downwards, starts a video, stops the video. So if we push it upwards, camera, push it down, starts the video, stops the video. Next up is the headless mode button in the left corner of the controller. This is also the go home button, but let's start off with headless mode. So how we activate headless mode is the red side of the quadcopter is facing us, and we push it one time. Just push it one time real quick, and that when the lights are blinking, we are in headless mode. Basically, all headless mode is basically when you're flying it, the orientation, when you turn around and spin with it, it gets kind of off. Headless mode just keeps the orientation like in one orientation. It's kind of hard to explain, but when you're flying it, you won't understand what I'm saying. It's a helpful tool basically.
But you don't have to be in headless mode.
You do not have to be in headless mode. Headless mode is just added on bonus. I don't even really use it, but it's a nice thing to have. So let's turn off headless mode by hitting the button one more time. The next thing that we can do is on the same button, if we hold it down, it has a go home feature, and that only works when you're flying. You're not going to see it do anything right now, but basically when it's flying, and you only want to use this in open field, don't use it in a city, because this quadcopter does not have GPS on it, and even the GPS ones aren't super accurate, and they're not recommended in city areas, but especially this one's made for open fields, and it comes back roughly around where you're at, so it's not perfect, and don't do it in cities. Real open fields is where you want to use that. So next up is the auto flip feature. So basically this just makes it easier, especially for beginners, to flip. It's in the right hand corner up here, and when you hit that and then you do the throttle, it'll make like a little beep while you're flying. You can't hear it now because we're not flying it, but when you hit that button, it'll like make a beep, double beep like that, and then you could hit the button and it'll do a flip for us. So say you want to flip right, you do right, left, forwards, backwards. You could control the flip, which is pretty cool.
So you hit the blue button first, and then you push the lever.
And you'll hear a double beep, and then you hear the lever while you're flying, and you'll just kind of be hovering, and then it'll do a little flip for you. It's pretty cool. Next up is these two little joysticks in the middle. Since we went over 2 buttons on top, now we're doing these two. This is your throttle, and basically how the throttle works is that if it's above halfway, the throttle's above halfway. Sometimes it's not exact because the battery might be dying, but if it's halfway, above halfway, it's rising. If it's below halfway, it's kind of going down. This is to go forwards, backwards, left, and it's just to spin the aircraft, but beware. If you're not in headless mode, that's kind of tricky because it could mess up your orientation. Next up is this little switch right here. So it's even more left to the camera switch, and this switch is your speed basically. And what you would use your speed for is in high winds, when you need to fight winds, you would push it to the right, and that would give you the ability to go faster, and it gives it more power so you can fight higher winds. It also allows you to go faster with the aircraft, so you want to fly faster. That will allow you to go faster. Indoors though, and for beginners, I recommend low mode, and I definitely do not recommend that beginners begin flying in windy conditions. You'll lose your aircraft for sure. Inside flying, definitely on low mode. But other than that, that's all that button does. It's just high speeds, low speeds. That's what we recommend. This is the next switch. So if we go right to the power switch right here, this button and this button are one and the same. They're both trims. So basically, say there's two things there. Okay, so say your hovercraft is not floating steadily. Say it's drifting a little bit this way when you're just giving it the command just to hover. What we recommend first off is putting the quadcopter on a level surface, and we get our joystick and the other joystick, and we put one in the corner and the other corner down to the bottom right, and that resets the gyros, as if you could see. And basically all that does is, say the gyros inside here at stabilized aircraft, say they're a little off and they're like that, it resets them or recalibrates them, so when it's on a level surface, it smoothens out the flight of your aircraft.
So are you saying that, real quickly, the two ways to adjust your drone if it's not hovering stable is the trim, and if that doesn't work, then you can default those two levers on the bottom right hand corner to set the gyros, which this is a 6-axis gyro drone. It'll reset those, recalibrate them so it's stable as long as the drone's on a level surface. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but first off, I recommend doing the gyros first to test it for issues in hovering, and then second is the trim. So that's what we're gonna do now. So say that we reset the gyros and it's still drifting backwards, okay? Or left or right or forwards, doesn't matter. Say it's like still going forwards, backwards, left, right. So basically say the aircraft is drifting backwards. What we wanna do on our controller is that we wanna push the trim, because this is like forwards, backwards, right, left, or right on the trim. We want to trim it forwards because it's drifting backwards, and it evens it out so that it hovers nice and steady. Because if it's drifting this way, we gotta, it basically gives the motors more power. So that's how you trim it.
Okay.
Same with left, right, any other way.
That sounds great. And you also mentioned if the battery is going low, the drone will do what? It'll start blinking?
Yeah, the lights will start blinking. In headless mode, it's kind of hard to tell, but you could definitely tell it'll lose a lot of power. And if it doesn't have a lot of power to get off the ground, it's definitely dying. Do not use your battery. You will ruin your battery if you fly it while it's dead or dying.
Well, that's awesome, Brandon. Appreciate your time. We want to make sure that everybody realizes this is an instructional video. It'll be posted on our Amazon listing. And if you find it helpful, be sure and hit the helpful tab so that others can find it to be helpful also. Thank you.